The order, please. First order of business to adopt the agenda. Ask that it be reviewed and approved. Motion to adopt, need a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on this? All those in favor, say aye. Okay. Well, all right, now we need to approve the minutes of the last meeting that we've already discussed those. We need a motion on that, that they be approved. In a second.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
And a second. All right. There's no old business, new business. We're hearing a request to annex parcel 29A 064-004 as R1. And Sonny Underwood, if you will, please give us information on that.
All right, this property is located at 364 Sharp Top Ridge Road. That's the new 911 address that was given to that property. It's 111 acres. They want to zone it R1, and as you can see, there's a proposed copy of their development right there. They want it annexed in as R1, which is residential 1. And that's what it is.
All right. Is there any public input on this? If so, if they will, please stand up, state your name. Come on up if you would, please.
Ken Blazer.
Sir?
Ken Blazer.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Well, our group here tonight is come up to voice their opinion on this. What we're concerned about in this property is the amount of traffic that will be coming from Cove Road down our street. One of the things that we're concerned about is the safety of it. But Cove Road happens to be the second busiest road in Pickens County. And there was a study done a couple of years ago about the vehicle traffic. There's over 4,000 vehicles a day that travel that road. And that was taken at Cove Road and Grandview. So anything that got off before that didn't count. And when you're traveling east on Cove Road, turning left on the Sharp Top Ridge Road, it's a dangerous maneuver because of the oncoming traffic, but also the fact that the road angles, curves around, and it has a bank, a slope to it, so you almost have to come to a dead stop before you can make the turn safely. One of the things that I was bringing that I would suggest that the city might do is have the DOT look at it to see if there needs to be a turn lane there, so that if you have 75 cars a day turn a left, while they talk about a right passing lane to get into it. So that's one of the things. But the main thing is that Sharp Top Ridge was developed about 40 years ago. And I've looked to try to find, I've asked Mr. Underwood and other people, how was the road made? And I think you'll agree that 40 years ago, if you had a bulldozer and a dump truck, you could almost put in a subdivision in Pickens County. So I doubt if this road has the surface or the bed that would withstand all the traffic that would be required to build this division out there. And the traffic, based on that number of houses, and that price point house, that would probably be 3 cars per household there, and that would double, triple our traffic on that road. Right now we have 12 houses, and I've counted up that there's probably about 16, 18 drivers. So we have maybe 16 automobiles or 18 automobiles going out in the day in the end, but it would triple our business on it. So my concern is the safety of our people, the quality of life, all of our people here tonight, our quality of life, and the time it would take. I was thinking that they would present the program first that would give us an idea of the time span that the construction would go. Whether they're going to build all the houses or whether they're going to let the people buy the lots and get their own builder. It could go for 2 or 3 years, you know, by the time that they select and do this. And this would create a hardship for most of us. Some of the people have lived on Sharp Top for 20 to 30 years. I bought there because the sign said dead end. And for the longest time, there was a 100-year-old tree right at the end of the road. And I felt good about that, with the 12 houses being a dead-end street. So they've chosen to come in Sharp Top. When I look at the drawing over here, I don't understand. You're not land bound. You have Burnt Mountain Road, Old Burnt Mountain Road, but they happen to choose the Sharp Top. And to do that, it would take, to me, 6 to 8 months or longer to get approved, especially if we do a highway study. And another question is, I don't know what the name of the subdivision will be, but you need to promote it, and there's no land at the end of Sharp Top Ridge and Cove Road to put up signs and promote a subdivision that look like of this quality. So, but I'm sure that these people here tonight they told me, and traveled around to them, that why wouldn't they consider another route to get into this project? And maybe the gentleman tonight that tells this will explain to us why. Because Burnt Mountain Road to me is an ideal spot. There's already a road there. People have been driving on it. It's growing up. They drive on it. And the second choice would be to come in off of Burnt Mountain Road. It would save our community and give us a quality of life that we hope for there. The safety to walk through the streets. We don't have curves or sideways, but we love it. And if we increase the traffic 3 or 4 times and all the construction that goes on, it will be hard on us, and we'll lose our way of life. So, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Greg, come on back.
Greg Gass, live at 240 Sharp Top Ridge Road. Concerns I have, all the concerns that Mr. Ken here also mentioned, but also to put a development like this in on our little street is going to mean obviously infrastructure improvements, widening the road, things of that nature. So that's going to mean loss of property for us. The only way to widen the roads is to take part of our yards or our property in other ways. Not only to increase traffic to go in if every lot should be developed, you know, we're assuming that it would be, but in the time frame that it would take to develop that property and everything, construction traffic coming up and down that road, everybody knows what construction traffic does. It's an inevitable feature of construction, but you know, then the residents will have to put up with the dust, the dirt, the heavy truck, heavy equipment traffic. And to be quite honest, as many water breaks as we've already had on that street, when you start running construction type traffic up and down that road, you're going to run into more problems. I've already had my driveway dug up because of the water leak. You know, some of the other residents have had some of their property because of water leaks and things like that. And you know, the heavy equipment, construction traffic, and everything is going to have an impact on that. And I think Ken also mentioned most everybody that lives on that street is fairly elderly. We like to get out and we like to walk. That'll be a thing of the past. Once the traffic starts in, down that street, you know, we've lost what we moved there for, is what I'm saying. There are obviously other avenues they could take to access that property. Of course, it would cost them a lot to do that, you know, to make an entrance off of Old Burnt Mountain Road. We'd have to, you know, reshift some of the lots and cost them some property, where, as the way they're doing it now, they're coming straight off of an existing road, is that correct? And losing none of their property, but we'll lose our property for the widening of the road and just the traffic. We're going to lose the quality of life that we've had. And, you know, I just think that, you know, if they want to develop this, that's fine, it's, you know, but there should be another access rather than off of our street. The traffic that he mentioned, my wife and I lived there about 24 years, had a lot of close calls turning in off of Cove Road onto our street, because it is in that blind curve and, you know, coming off of that hill where it is. So, you know, traffic impact is going to be a major factor for all of us. And if it doesn't build out, you know, if they develop it and they sell 1 or 2 lots, then what have we got? We've got a perfect place, and, you know, I think everybody's well aware of what happens when a developer comes in, puts in a subdivision that doesn't build out. What happens? People dump trash, you got people down there doing drug deals, you got people just hanging out because it's a cool access place to go, and nobody's going to come down and bother you. And I don't think any of the residents on our street want to see that. I know I don't. I'm sure there are some other concerns that some of the others might have, but I'll turn it over to somebody else. But thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Greg.
Yes, sir.
Ken Austin, I live at 170 Sharp Top Ridge Road. We've lived there since 2004. And the house we bought is actually rather close to Sharp Top Ridge Road. And I can only imagine, our driveway is also very blind. And I've seen, there have been several times we've pulled up from our driveway, even with the 16 or so people on our street, that we have to go very slowly, and there's typically a blind area there. And I can only imagine if the traffic is doubled or tripled on that road, as narrow as it is, how dangerous it would be just in our driveway. And there's several other driveways on that street that are also blind too. And that would really impact us very much so. But as I said to start with, our house, to preserve the view, and we look at Sharp Top and we look at Missionary Ridge and all that behind our house. And when the initial people built the house, it was built close to the road. So we'd have all those trucks and heavy equipment going, you know, within feet of our bedroom. Mm-hmm. The noise destroying the road and so forth. So I totally echo what they've said before, but it seems to me that there would, I'm all for development, I really am, but it seems to me that another access point would be a lot better than right down our little road, because our little street is just a little street.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Joe Godfrey. My brother Kevin lives on 85 Sharp Top Ridge Road. He's en route, so he asked if I would speak on his behalf. And I've driven the property significantly. Kevin's lived in that neighborhood for a number of years, and I do think that the R1 is obviously the ideal for this, being low impact. I do see from a standpoint of why the developer's wanting to put the road on that. At the same time, though, in practical terms of being neighborly and from a development standpoint, they really should consider either putting the entrance along Old Burnt Mountain Road. The access along here is much easier to get back up to Cove Road because you do have better sight distance for both turning back towards Bentry or coming back up towards Jasper. There's not much traffic on this little section over here, and there's several access points that could be easily brought up along, maybe between lot 1, 2, or 3, to bring them back up into here. Now, if that wasn't attainable, if you came off of Burnt Mountain Road, there's a 9.3 acre piece up front here that's carved out. There's a road directly across the street from here. Now the terrain on this side gets a little steeper, but there is a potential access area where it levels off significantly, where you could come up in here and you could even, from a land planning standpoint, probably put a few more lots over here. So if you trade off with the access coming off of the where the proposed road is, if you trade off, you're very likely to pick up a couple lots because you're going to end up losing a lot somewhere. So you got to try to pick up where you lose. So in just Kevin's concern is obviously the ingress, egress, the traffic, the impact on this small, well, not necessarily small road, but a lightly traveled road that basically would see a complete 180 with just the number of vehicles and just from their quality of life. I think though in the long term, land has to be used, whether it's for recreation, housing, commercial, industrial. I think that again, the R1 fits well in this. It's just the access. If the access can be maneuvered and they still gain the number of lots, my personal opinion is these lots back up to a lot of beautiful vista, a lot of hardwoods on the property. They could easily make up whatever margin they spend a little extra to move the entrance into maybe one that's not as a conflict with the existing homeowners. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
Go ahead, Thomas, first.
My name's Sharon Walker, and we live on 1209 Old Burr Mountain Road. And I'm just listening to a lot of this information, and the proposal of a different, I agree with everything that they're saying about the traffic and the construction traffic and what it's going to do for that neighborhood. But if you were to come off of Old Burr Mountain Road, that road is not substantial enough for any amount of traffic, any additional traffic. I think it's like a lightly paved road on what used to be a gravel road. So it's not going to withstand anything. But one thing to consider, if you're talking about coming off of Burnt Mountain Road, I don't know how the terrain is here, but if you're talking about coming off of Burnt Mountain Road right here, I think that's pretty steep. But if there's any way to come over here, if you come through here to do another road, you don't want through traffic at all, because that's going to make it worse. Because no matter what, it's going to be cut through, and then you'll have people coming through there very quickly. But if there was a consideration to come in from Burnt Mountain Road and then make another cul-de-sac, just come in, flip this over, and then you satisfy everybody here because there's no additional traffic going in there, but then you still have the same amount of land being developed on that side, but coming in from another angle and just making a small street with a cul-de-sac. I think that should be a consideration.
Anyone else?
One last. Good evening, my name is Gary Bruner. My wife Tanya's here with me. We live off of Old Burr Mountain Road, so while I don't have the direct impact that a lot of you people do with Sharp Top Ridge, and I feel for you on that, I'd be a lot more upset standing here if I lived on Sharp Top Ridge and Old Burr Mountain, but I do have concerns about Old Burr Mountain as well. Sharon beat me to the point on a couple of those. The road itself there's not a whole lot much more traffic that road can take without some major improvements of its own. There are a couple of places there where if you're not careful, you're going to wind up on the side of the road at some point or down the gulch on either side of it. So that would need some work as well. But we're just, again, kind of concerned about the impact on the area, the increased traffic, all the construction traffic, how that's going to affect Old Burr Mountain. And I guess a question for somebody here, was there no presentation to anyone about what the plan was? And that's kind of what I was hoping to see is here's our presentation, this is what we're going to do, rather than just looking at a drawing. Was there anyone going to do that at some point?
One of the owners is back there, and the man that represents it, I'm sure they're going to say something.
Yeah, it'd be great to see what the plan is, and I see that now, and if it stays like that, then it impacts the folks on Sharp Top Ridge. It doesn't impact us quite as much, but again, I have a concern about the rest of the property and what the future holds for that, and if that subdivision were to grow or expand any of the rest of that property. So again, just some concerns from the Old Burr Mountain side on top of what the Sharp Top folks have.
Okay, anyone else?
I just like, I live on 170 Sharp Top Ridge. Our road is very curvy. I mean, there's a lot of blind spots as it is with our light traffic and with increased traffic, it's going to get really dangerous. We don't have a center line on our road. Old Burnt Mountain and Burnt Mountain both do. But ours is just a little country street. And it's just going to be a terrible impact on us if this is the only entrance into the lane.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm Lynn Henson, and I live at 290 Sharp Top Ridge Road, and I've lived in the city limits for 30 of the last 40 years. We've lived on the end of that street. We were the last house on that street for 18 years. A house got zoned in, or building got zoned in that's in the process of being built now, and it was zoned agriculture, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago at a meeting here. But I agree with all the other property owners on our street. That is not a two-lane road, and if a delivery truck, a lumber truck, a dozer, somebody carrying dirt, somebody hauling something, which is going to happen a lot if that happens, if this development comes through that entrance, it is very dangerous, and that road was not built for that kind of traffic, and it's a bad idea.
Okay, anyone else?
My name's Terry Phillips. I live at 205 Sharp Top. We've been there about 11 years or so. And I agree with the other objections to even Sharp Top Ridge Road being an entrance point, period. I think it ought to come off of Burnt Mountain Road and leave our street a dead end and not be an entrance point. It's a small road. It's, like they say, real windy. Even we have to watch out for each other coming and going.
Yes, sir.
That was the only comment I had. I know I'm old. We've lived there since 1984. And even I get anxious now going out that narrow little curvy road. And if somebody happens to go over the center line in a curve, I mean, you know, it's really, really scary. So there would certainly have to be a lot of changes made.
There is no center line, by the way. That's just.
It's not much wider than Old Cove Mountain, right?
Yeah. To call it a two-lane highway is being generous, actually.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Barbara Tracy. I live on Old Burnt Mountain. I know there's a spot going back toward Cove where they have filled in, but it's still sunk in some. That would be that's one of my concerns, is more traffic. What's underneath that? It's because I know a lot of people, we try and go around that spot, but if you're meeting a car, you cannot miss it. And I'm concerned that there's a cavity underneath that it just might sink in. Plus our little bridge is barely a one-lane bridge. And I guess the next thing, is there a price range on these homes that will be built? Everybody deserves a home, but you don't want, I guess, a super low income housing in an upper class neighborhood.
Anyone else, sir?
One other addition, this is a little off the subject, but it just shows how dangerous that turn into Sharp Top is. I noticed coming up Cove Road there that the speed limit changes from 45 up on top of the hill after you get past Sharp Top. And you've got Fox Run there, you've got houses on the road, and you've got people coming out of Old Grandview and Sharp Top Ridge. If that speed limit could be changed right about Old Grandview to 35 instead of 45, because by the time they get to the top of that hill where that 35 mile an hour, they haven't even slowed down yet. They're still coming 45 or 50.
If a sign would really impact that.
Anyone else?
Main opinion, I'm kind of a new guy on the block. I'm building a new house at the end of the street there. And I will say, I agree with that. I'm coming here with just a utility trailer, turning off of Cove, and you just take your life into your own hands. People fly up Cove Road, and if you have a big truck in there with a big trailer, it's dangerous. And I'm not opposed, again, I'm not opposed to that, but I would sure like to see it, you know, with another entrance. And two, with this type of house, I mean, these look like upscale homes. I can't see, I mean, we've got a great subdivision, and that's why we're here, we love it. But, you know, these houses are, you know, upper scale, and looks like it would be, you know, on the downside to bring people through our subdivision to get into that. Looks like it'd be much better to bring it off one road and have a nice entrance, you know, and that fits with that subdivision, so.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Thank you. I'm Paul King. I'm the developer along with my business partner, Steve Wadley. We hate traffic too. That's why we moved to Gilman County. We live in LJ. We love Jasper too. It's a very neat, historic mountain town. And we're excited about an opportunity we think we have here. But let me start out by saying that this is an initial concept that we had developed by our civil engineers in LJ. And we're very open to looking at other plans, other ways to enter the property. Some excellent points were made, especially the one about the use of this beautiful property for residential, because as most of you know, I'm sure, it's beautiful property. There's hardwoods there. It's a fairly easy property to develop. We're not looking to come in and clear cut or do any mass grading. This road configuration was a simple and low-cost way for us to enter this plat and divide it up into only 21 residential lots. So we're not talking about a huge number of homes. We're not talking about destroying the character of the property. We're talking about building some very nice, high-quality, small, probably, residential dwellings, depending on what the cost is to do the infrastructure and the roads. The more we spend on roads, obviously the price point per lot goes up, and we have to ask more for the houses. So that's not really something we're trying to do or want to do. But the purpose, my understanding, coming to the meeting tonight was to decide if we could get the city to approve the difference in the zoning to R1 and to annex into the city. This is not the approval of a plan. We're very willing and anxious and like the idea of continuing to work on concept plans. We want this input. Obviously, we've heard a lot about the traffic concerns, the safety concerns, the other ways to develop ingress, egress. We're going to do that. We'll look at all this with our engineer, Chastain and Associates in LJ. They've done a great job for us in the past, and so we'll take this back to them to see how maybe we could economically make it feasible to enter off Old Bird Mountain Road. I know there's some steep grades there, but maybe we can find a way to get in, give up maybe a couple lots, and make up for it, you know, in other areas on the plat. But again, I think this is really at this point just an opportunity to show the community what our concept is, without any definitive plan for how the roads will work. This is our first shot at it. I mean, we'd be very open to looking at how we can reconfigure the roads and reduce some of the objections and make it work for everybody. It's pretty simple. We hope we can get the change in the zoning that we're asking for. We'd like to be in the city. We want to work with the residents. We'll keep you updated every step of the way. Again, this is not a application for a subdivision that we're trying to get approved right now. Our residential designer, Karen Driscoll's with us today. Karen, do you want to come up here and just kind of roughly show them what we're talking about building?
got this little simple board. I didn't have a name, I had to put a name up there. We don't know what the name of the subdivision will be, so I just had to fill something in right there. I've got the ridge at Sharp Mountain. What we plan for this development is what we call cottages. They'll be small, they'll be cozy, they'll be a neighborhood with lots of front and back porches. We expect it to be for empty nesters. We won't have large garages. We'll have 2-car garages. There will be ranch homes with a basement because the property requires that there be a basement because it's so steep. But people then will obviously be able to finish off the basement into a terrace level if they want to, but the anticipation of the use being for empty nesters is, I don't want steps anymore. Y'all don't want steps anymore. You know, we are planning it for people in our age range to enjoy it and to have low maintenance. We expect it to be cottagey looking, natural materials, pretty houses, similar. I saw a lot of pretty houses on your street today. So I felt like, well, this fits in with that type of neighborhood. Our price range will be in probably mid-2s into 3s, maybe a little higher 2s depending on how much it costs us to develop the property to get to that point of selling the lot. The way that we're doing the development is we have developed a concept which we are working on within LJ. We have a development there that we have recently broken ground on, same concept, empty nesters, cottage homes. We will develop it with our builder. There won't be lots sold and then somebody sit on it and find their own builder. We find that it is much easier to swallow building a house if somebody is there doing the hard work for you. So we've got one builder. I have a design team of 3 professional interior designers, and we have a person that's a liaison that works between the homeowner and the builder. So if you have a question about what's going on at the house, you would call Cheryl, and Cheryl would get to all these other places and say, what's going on with this, and where is this, and I need this. So it'll be very easy for the homeowner in every step of the way, but especially once they live there. It's going to be a lovely neighborhood. Houses will be between 1,500 and probably 1,700 square feet. So nothing big, nothing fancy. It's not Atlanta, come to the mountains. We all left Atlanta to be in the mountains and want to maintain that.
Now you're bringing Atlanta to us.
Well, 20 people. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What are the plans as far, is it to be a gated community, and what kind of amenities or homeowner association things?
We're not sure about the HOA part at this point. Probably not really. As far as amenities, not a lot, honestly. We're not going to be big community. We may have some outdoor space. We may have a fire pit, a picnic area, probably, I would imagine. Maybe have some community gardening areas for the development. But still trying to figure some of that out. It's really concept things right now that we're working on, including the road configuration. But you know, I understand why you'd ask that, but we aren't that far yet. Can't really answer some of that. Yes, sir.
When you say maintenance free, are you talking vinyl exteriors?
No.
No.
We're talking party board, cement board. I mean, we'll use some natural materials, hand split shake, maybe some Pantene log for accent. But at this price point, you're probably not going to have too much of that, but enough to make it look rustic and make it look really good and sharp. But yeah, probably party board. I don't think we will, no, we're not going to, we'll have tight architectural standards. And like Karen mentioned, we would much prefer to use a preferred builder. In LJ, we're using Wally Stover Homes. He's a very high quality luxury home builder, but he also does smaller homes. And he's very excited about working with us on that. I've done some work with Wally, and he will do a good job up there. I'm sure he'd probably come down here and work in Jasper as well.
What was the name again, Wallace?
Stover. Right, very, very great reputation.
Just a comment, if you're, I mean, if you're playing the devil's advocate here, but you're talking about coming into a subdivision that's been established for decades, people have lived in for decades, and changing the whole subdivision by a pretty good concept. I mean, I like what you're doing, but I have to agree that it's not, I mean, you're coming in and changing everything that's already been there for 20, 30, 40 years. So if you were to come in from Burnt Mountain, not Old Burnt Mountain, Old Burnt Mountain didn't have the infrastructure to hold up anything. I mean, we all live there, we have regular cars, it's a problem. But if you were to somehow come off of Burnt Mountain and come in the other way and make a cul-de-sac, I think you would, I mean, I'm in the mortgage business, I understand how the housing market works, but if you were to come off of Burnt Mountain and develop your own little, 20, 22 lot subdivision and a little bit of a curve right there, if you could somehow figure that out, I think you'd have a lot of people behind you. Because we need houses here.
Sure.
And we need houses in the 200s. There aren't any.
Right.
And we don't have enough houses on the market. We have very low supply right now for what is there. So, I mean, I think you'd make a lot of people happy if you maybe just rearranged it just a little bit and left this subdivision alone. Because, coming out of their road is bad, just like coming out of Burnt Mountain Road is bad. I mean, I can't tell you how many wrecks there are. Both curves are blind curves. And there's nothing you can do about that. But just a thought, I think you can make a lot of people real happy.
Okay, great. Very good feedback. We'll definitely consider that.
I have a question. What are the 22 and 23 that are circled here with the houses then on this diagram?
Alan, those are standalone, or
Yeah,
those
those
are out parcels?
Yeah, they're two separate out parcels.
So where would they have access from?
They would access off of, I guess that's Old Burnt Mountain Road there. There would be those two lots
Okay.
there. Now, the balance of that property that's on the other side of the creek, basically, they're gonna look at cutting that in, it'll probably be no more than 5 or 6 tracts. If somebody wants 10 acres there, or 5 acres, or whatever, there won't be a development. It'll just be basically cut in larger tracts off the road, because it doesn't lend itself to access to the driveways because of the steepness. So it'll probably be cut into just several tracts, or not say several, probably 6 or 7 tracts at the most.
So,
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm done.
so you're talking about, if you're talking about annexing, you're talking about annexing the whole entire section that's in the gray section here, from the left side of the creek to the right side of the creek. So what are the benefits to that becoming a part of the city? Because we do live on adjacent property to that. So on the other side of the creek.
They can pop into city water.
They can't.
They told us no, it will not come out there.
Alan, can you answer that?
The end of our street is though. The end
I'm
of
sorry?
the end of our street on Sharp Top Ridge
Is
is
city
city water, right there all the way to the end.
But if we, I mean,
We've all got wells.
Honestly, that property on the other side of the creek, I don't know if there's a whole lot of benefit in putting it in the city, honestly. But I'm not sure what the county regs are on, if it's ag now, if it needs to be rezoned to R1 to have a 5-acre lot. I'm not sure what the rules there are, so they're not just gonna annex it all into the city, but that's,
I have another comment on that. If this land to the right of the creek, I don't know about the left of the creek, but to the right of the creek is it's not in a conservation trust, but it's a conservation classification. So based on the way it's classified right now, you wouldn't want to, if you change that to R1, you change that whole, I guess, intention of that land. And how can you change something that has a conservation? What's it called? It's not a conservation trust, but it's part of a conservation classification.
Yeah.
So meaning that you can't have one house on more than, any less than 5 acres.
Right.
And then it can't be developed, you can't widen the road, you can't do this, you can't be more than the creek, you can't do more than one driveway. There's all kinds of, I guess restrictions with that I would have to agree with, but if you make it R1, does that change that classification? I mean, because you want to have conservation pieces in this county, or the county will change.
Yeah, I'm
That's
not
just a
sure.
thought, I mean,
Yeah.
can you go from conservation R1?
It's a tax classification, there might be some back taxes you might have to pay if you decide to develop.
I don't
it
think it's
sooner
a trust
than-
though. I don't think it's
Okay.
the bona fide trust. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's a different classification.
Yeah, it's in the comprehensive plan for the
Yeah.
10-year plan for, for Pickens and Jasper. And that is considered a conservation area, that whole area right
But
there.
it's not a trust.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll have to do some more due diligence on that part of it, that component. so.
If you annex that into the city, then the access is going to be a county-maintained road, not a city road. That is my tax dollars for city property.
Unless you annex the road too.
And you're gonna annex the road, and then the city's gonna maintain Old Burnt Mountain now?
Not sure. Again, this is concept, those are things we'll have to determine, certainly. Any other questions for us? All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Great.
I'm just wondering how the council can go ahead and approve this when they seem to be so unsure about so many aspects of this property. I mean, basically, we're buying a pig and a poke.
Yes, very
Yes, sir.
Well, we're not.
Stand up, sir. What's your name?
My name's Alan Dover. We're not here to get this plan approved. That's not, I don't think, the purpose of this meeting. We're here just to get it rezoned to R1, where we can start planning on something based on that zoning and to get it annexed into the city. This is not a meeting to approve this particular plan, as I understand it. Is that correct? We just want to get it zoned in the city. The city will be getting tax dollars off of it. We'll have the ability to plan an R1 development for it. We still got to go through the process of getting this plan, soils work done, the design work done, and then that will have to be approved in addition to what we're doing here tonight. So I think we're getting the cart in front of the horse a good bit in that this will all have to be approved future. Whatever design they finally finalize, it will have to be approved. But tonight, we're just going to annex into the city and prove R1. Then they'll start spending more engineering money trying to do the plan of how the development's going to do. And then that'll have to be approved at a future meeting. Is that correct, Sonny?
That is correct, yes.
So we're getting a little bit ahead. I think they'll look at options of coming off the other road. This is just something to show people what they'd like to do, because those are the ideal home sites. Now, if there's a better way to access it, I'm sure they'll entertain it. But they don't want to spend a bunch of development money if they can't get it on, or design money if they can't get it zoned to R1. I mean, that's the first step in trying to do planning. And I think we're getting a little ahead of the game and saying we don't want them all down our street. Well, we may not end up doing it that way, and at a future time, if this is the plan they come back with, it would be the time to argue that point. But tonight, if we can get it zoned to R1, get it annexed in the city, where the city will be getting taxes, then they can go forward with their planning, knowing that they're not spending all that money and they can't even get it zoned to R1.
That's
If
not
that
what,
makes sense.
that's not at all what we've been told. The sign at the end of our street acted like there'd be a decision made in June at the next meeting. So I think you have the turnout and you have the enthusiasm here tonight, because we don't know all that at all. And also, do we know who the owner of this land is? Do we know that?
You see right behind you. It's right behind you, over here.
Mr. King is good.
Okay, all right, well, good.
Yeah, we're not here,
No idea.
am I correct in my thing, Sonny? We're just here to rezone it. We're not approving the plan.
This property is not going to be rezoned tonight. This is not the city council. This is the planning commission. They will make a recommendation to the city council. And the city council will take that under advisement, and they will decide whether to put it into the city as R1 at the next city council meeting.
Well, I think someone needs to confirm if, like Sharon brought up the point, that if this is a conservation area, can it be rezoned to R1? Is there an issue that needs to be addressed there? I think that has to be determined. I don't think we're getting too far ahead of ourselves if that's an issue. I don't know if it is or not, but it's worth
And if
investigation.
there's a conservation zoning, then there's also a residential conservation zone, and then what are the restrictions? with
I
that?
have no idea if that enters into that.
But we know that that property is in a conservation.
No, we don't, and I can tell you, I've never signed any kind of thing on the conservation. I've been paying taxes on that property, my family's been paying, let me finish. My family's been paying taxes on that, just what's left of us, for the last 22 years. There's never been a conservation on it, it's not been signed. I've been paying full price on county taxes over there on that piece of property. It is not in a conservation easement.
It's in the no, not in
It is
a
not
conservation.
in a conservation easement.
No, I'm not saying it is, not an easement or a trust.
And the road,
It's in the plan.
up on Short Top, there was some things saying it was, he bought because it was a dead-end road. A dead-end road, there's never been a sign out there, dead end. Number one, if it is, but somebody else.
You want me to show you a picture of it?
Been there for 30 years.
And let me go ahead and finish this too. Because I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't own the property anymore. Although I have much more at stake than anyone in the room, because I have 150 acres that join all this where I live. I mean, I live over there too. But that street, there's already a street up there cut and graded. It was graded over 20 years ago on Shark Top Ridge. It's out there, been out there ever since all of y'all moved out there. But like I say, I don't have a dog in the fight. It doesn't matter to me. But I can say this, that street is already there. It's not into the development. That street was cut a long, long time ago.
It's not a street, it's a logging trail.
It's not a logging trail because I paid for a bulldozer to go out there.
There's your stop sign.
Mr. Underwood, I was at the Planning Commission office May 7th last week, and I came in to ask about this piece of property. And when I asked about it, I'm not sure the gentleman's name, Mr. Fitzgibbons was in there, and there was 2 other women in there. And when I asked about the parcel of property, the man said, "You mean where that subdivision's going up off of Sharp Top Ridge Road?" And I looked at him like, well, what do you mean? I mean, we got a zone here, and we're glad to hear that you're looking for input about maybe something like this, and this might be your initial phase of this. We're glad to hear that. And if we had heard that when the zoning signs have been put in the property, it might have been a little bit different than how we responded tonight. So we're glad to hear that, believe me. So I just would like to know, I'm not sure the gentleman's name, but he said that where it was going up. So this might be
He
the
doesn't have any,
but
he doesn't have anything to say about it.
okay. Well, I'm just not sure who, I couldn't remember his name. But we're glad.
Yeah, I don't, the lady here brings up the conservation. I'm not familiar, and I don't know anything about. I mean, I understand people put property in conservation.
It's not.
I'll address that. This is an excerpt out of the 2018-2028 comprehensive plan for Pickens and Jasper. The dark green area represents a conservation area, not a trust, a conservation area. We're in that. That's in the 18 to 28 plan that's published and readily available. So it is in a conservation area.
You phoned something maybe I've never heard about, that they can just bring something in and put people's property in conservation without them signing something. So they've lost me there. I don't know what they're talking about. But
it's a Pickens plan.
Well,
What does it mean?
Yeah, there's a 173-page document that's the 10-year plan for Pickens. And if you read that, it talks about, like what Sharon was saying, that there are certain guidelines and restrictions that have to be followed when you're in certain areas, whether it's urban or conservation or what. That eastern part of Pickens County is considered a conservation area, and you have to maintain waterways and tree cover and the views and all those different things that Pickens has seen fit to try to protect.
Yeah, my only point is that anything that was developed in those, the larger tracts would just conform to the conservation area plan. It's not in trust.
Well, if
I
it's.
know what that is, it's not a trust, that's a tax classification, I was talking about conservation and preservation.
Well, I'm assuming we'd have to adhere to it, I just hope it's not where you can't cut it in 10-acre tracts on this conservation.
Yeah, I think
But if it's
so.
considered a conservation area, then it should be researched, and that should be, you should look at the
Before
county
decision.
plan, before any zoning decisions were made, just to make sure that nothing violates the conservation area.
Well,
That was already determined by the whole, the planning commission.
Would you have to modify the county's plan in order to allow this piece to be rezoned? In some counties, you have to go in front to modify the plan.
Yeah.
Once that's modified, you can concurrently rezone the property. So that may, I don't know what the condition is for the county.
Not sure I'm gonna ask that question.
I don't know, I've never heard of that, so I don't know.
Sir?
You was talking about saving money and only zoning the land. Look like you could save money and just put a topographical up there, and we could use our own imagination what might happen there.
Well, I mean, that's not, anything about that plan's not said.
Well, you got Sharp Top Ridge Road on it. Somebody's give it some thought. So,
not set in
you know, we vote this, you say, we're halfway there.
Yeah.
Take all that off from it and then let them vote on the land.
Well, that's what they're voting on. This, they're not voting
No,
on this at
it
all.
makes me nervous to see that, and then somebody's gonna cast a vote.
Well, I apologize for that. I thought having this here would show you what could be done, not what's going to be done, but this is what they think they could do. And we just brought the plan in here and put it in here so you can see it.
Craig?
The whole point of development, I mean, I'm not a developer, I'm not a builder, I don't know. But I imagine it's like a lot of businesses, the whole point of it is to make as much money as possible. I mean, I'm sure these guys are not in here for anybody's benefit, but they're businessmen, that's to be expected. I'm just wondering if the city wants to sacrifice these taxpayers to appease them and the potential taxpayers that development will bring.
We don't want to sacrifice anyone.
If you cut that road through our, if you allow access to that subdivision through our road, you're sacrificing us. Look at some of these people. I'm one of the youngest guys that live on that street, son. Did I tell you what our traffic's like? We watch out for each other, as they've all said. You know? I mean, I think with the situation on Cove Road, the access to Sharp Top Ridge Road off of Cove Road, I think it'd be extremely irresponsible for the city to approve this as it stands.
That's the reason for this meeting.
Right. And if they want to come back with another plan and say, okay, we're coming off this road, we don't care if they get the utilities off Sharp Top Ridge Road. Power's there, water's already there. I know that's what they want. We don't care about that. But if there's no access, and trust me, there's a lot of subdivisions in Pickens County where the utilities don't come in the main entrance. Okay? You know, if they want to come up with another plan for access to that property that doesn't impact us, then we don't have a dog in that race. But Matt does. To me, I'm sure.
Sonny, again, I think we're getting caught ahead of the horse there, and this is not a meeting to approve this plan.
No, it
It's
is
a
not.
meeting to get it zoned to R1 and get it annexed in the city.
Exactly right.
Where they can start spending money, nailing down the plan. The soils work hasn't been done on the property yet, even the design lots with, they haven't spent that money. They've done the topo on it, and they haven't really spent any design work other than just a little sketch that was $1,000, you know what I mean? So this is, and they don't want to spend money until they know that they can do an R1 development on it, and it may very well be more feasible to come off of Burton Mountain Road, you know, and come that way. It may make more sense for their project to do that, and that'll all be studied. But you know, you don't want to spend all that design money and all of that hoping that you're going to get it zoned to R1 and find out you can't, and all of that money's been wasted. So there hadn't been a lot of money spent on this design. Tremendous amount of thought went into it. Soils work hadn't been done. None of the planning really has been done, other than we've messed up by even bringing the sketch in here. I see that, because all I would have wanted it done is just annexed in the cities on the R1, and then all this will be all approving whatever's done there will be all in the future. But they can't spend money until they know they can have a few smaller lots on it, you know what I mean? I do.
If the zoning goes through, do we have any influence on the design after that?
No, that would be left up to the gentleman back there that owns the property.
Okay, so then we'd have to look at like legal recourse there.
I think she answered my question, but once it's already zoned, we have no more recourse, is that correct? They can do whatever they want with the property,
No, it still has to go before the council
like the council's going to.
for them to approve.
Now,
And the final design, they have to approve, the city has to approve the final.
to. Yes, ma'am.
yeah, now I don't know how y'all do it in Pickens County, but in LJ, if we go get a piece of property zoned in the counties, all that does is give you the right to design it in 3-acre lots, or design it in acre lots, or design it in whatever. You still got to submit a plan with a design that has all the erosion control, all of this, all that, how you're going to enter the property. And that's voted on and approved in a total separate, as a total separate design. You know what I mean? Just because it's zoned R1 doesn't mean you can go in there and rake and pillage and put the road straight up the hill, but all the roads have to have a certain slope to it. You know, it's just like y'all requiring it being curved. You know, all of that will all be approved. And that's the way it works there. Now, I don't know, just get it rezoned doesn't give you the right to put a road anywhere you want to, or do whatever you want to do. There'll be a time that the actual construction plans will have to be approved. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
So this zoning at R1 actually has nothing to do with the design, the approval of the entrances, how all that's done, is I would understand it. Because, I mean, that doesn't give you the right to just, getting it rezoned to R1 didn't give you the right to just build a road wherever you want to do it and do it however. I've never, in my life, ever heard of that. That the actual construction plans would have to be approved at a later point.
Yes.
Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Once that subdivision is developed, would the roads be the city's responsibility? Would it be private owner responsibility? Who would be responsible for maintaining those roads?
They would probably turn them over to the city.
So would the city upgrade Sharp Top Ridge Road to match the rest of that development?
If that's an entrance.
They're going to be required to do more to their road than has been done to Sharp Top Road.
Well, Don and I have lived there almost 25 years. It's been resurfaced once in the 25 years we've lived there. Sharp Top Ridge Road.
Certainly, the city will have more money from the tax base generated to possibly
Let's
justify
just talk about money.
that.
Can there not be other considerations than money?
What's that?
Method.
No, I was just making the point that, you know, this development, again, is very expensive. And we're going to be required to do curbs and gutters and spend a lot of money on the roads in there. So I just want to make the point that, you know, perhaps they will have some extra money to do that.
But if you do that, you're taking away our yards. We have no yard, we will have no yard.
If they widen the road, you mean?
Widen the road.
Right.
From the edge of the street, to our carport, it may be 50 feet. How much you gonna take?
Less than that.
You talk about the cost of the road, and how to put in the road, I would think Burnt Mountain is
You have to.
How you gonna make the road big?
able to handle anything.
How you gonna widen the road?
How are you gonna get the traffic up and down it?
We never said we were going to widen the road. I think you said that.
No, I asked you.
Well, that's,
Yeah, you're gonna have,
It's barely a 2.
Beg your pardon?
you never,
barely a
you'll never get a framing package down there.
Yes, it is.
On a truck.
That needs to be built.
I don't know what the requirements were when that road was built.
To make it
Wait.
not be
okay, I guess my question is, from this point, what is the process to get them rezoned? I mean, is someone going to look at the conservation part of this from the city's point, or are we just gonna say that they're rezoned?
I guess I'm confused as to what the process is from here.
I got here about 8 minutes, 6:08, so I may have missed what y'all described or explained as far as residential, R1, and agriculture. Can you tell us the difference in what it is right now and what it's proposed to be? What's the difference? What's from agricultural to R1?
I can't tell you the difference because agricultural is a county designation. The property is in the county right now, it's not in the city. But after tonight, if the board decides to recommend that it be annexed in, then it will go before the city council at the next city council meeting, and they will decide whether it's in or out.
Is there any way to postpone this decision until the residents here can gather more information about this? This is kind of sprung on us by surprise, to be quite honest. Could it be postponed until we can gain more information? Perhaps if we need to hire legal counsel, things of that nature?
That's not up to me. We have gone by all the rules and regulations of annexation. And
So you either have to say yea or nay tonight as to whether to recommend it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry.
So you have to recommend or not recommend tonight. Is that correct?
This board will recommend or won't recommend it to be annexed into the city, yes.
So what is this board going to make this decision on? And who is this board? I know Lou. I mean,
This is Lou Copeland, this is Robert Walker, and this is Martha Poole.
Yeah. But y'all will make this decision, is that correct?
Then it goes before the city council. All we do is recommend. We don't make no decision.
Have you ever had an instance, when a situation like this arose, that you did not recommend annexation, and why?
I'm sure that happened.
There's been many different ones over the years. I guess I've been on for longer than the other two, but there have been a few. A lot of them, it was just, depends on what type of property it was and what was up for recommendation. We listen to everybody, but what it comes down to is we're only concerned with annexing it or rezoning it into the city, whether we will or won't, and that's just a recommendation. I know all the information you've given us would be helpful, but we can't take that into consideration. All we are doing is either saying yes or no to the annexation. This is what you're bringing up, the type of information you're bringing up. It's what you need to bring up for the city council.
So we've wasted our time.
No, I think y'all are getting the cart ahead of the horse. All this guy's wanting to do is just rezone it to residential, and that's all we're looking at. We're not looking at none of the roads, the way they got their lots cut up. None of that matters tonight. That'll be something.
What criteria do you use to make that decision?
That will go before the council, and then if they say, yes, it's gonna be residential, then that goes before, just like if you come in and wanna build a house somewhere, you have to go through all the steps to do it, and that's the same way they're gonna have to do it.
But if you recommended against it, the city council could still approve it.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
They have the last say. City council has the last say.
So even if you turn it down, they still can.
They still
Yes,
can
they can
vote,
still
they
do
can
that.
still vote for it.
Yeah, that's why I said all your information needs to be. in the
So
city
either
council.
way, this is the planning committee, it goes to the council whether you say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. So we can come to the council meeting
Yes,
and
ma'am,
be
you certainly
heard
can.
with, about that? It's already scheduled.
Mr. Coker.
I'm going to bring up one more thing, and I keep saying the cart ahead of the horse, but that's what we're doing. I'm just a contractor that work with these folks. They're very good people. They will try to figure out a different way to come up. If we can come up the side of that hill and come in, it hadn't even been looked at. This was just a conceptual little plan, and it should have never been brought to this meeting. That was a mistake. We're just trying to get the thing rezoned. They'll look at this other option coming up on the ridge and making it work. And if the city council comes and says, we don't want all this traffic down this road. The city doesn't have to approve the construction based on this plan. All they're wanting to do tonight is say, yes, I can make me a plan based on having some acre and a half home sites on this project, and I can annex it into the city, where they'll have city police protection. I can get the fire, I can get whatever to keep the insurance down. The meeting tonight, as I see it, now Luke, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, has nothing to do with approving this plan.
It does not.
Absolutely zero to do with approving this plan. All they're wanting is to know they get annexed, zoned R1, where they can really start planning. This is something that shouldn't even been done. I mean, they were just trying to see if they could make this property work physical, how many lots they could get. They can easily access it off of Burke Mountain Road. But they had to run some kind of numbers and do some kind of little preliminary planning to say, hey, I can get 20 home sites up there on the ridge, and I can make financial sense. But this drawing really is irrelevant at this point. I mean, it should have never been even shown. I mean, we didn't realize everybody would be opposed to that, to having a nice road go down there in a cul-de-sac where people could turn around at the end and put some more houses out there. We didn't know that. We didn't know everybody'd be all up in arms and fighting against trying to do something in Jasper. And we made some good points.
On the dead-end street, we have a zoning hearing sign that comes up. You're telling us that we're putting the cart before the horse. That's not how we feel. This is our quiet street, so that's where we're coming from.
Well,
that's a dangerous left turn too. That is the most dangerous left turn.
Very dangerous.
Yes, ma'am.
Once this plan is approved and is gone through the zoning, do we get another chance to come back before on the road decisions? Who's going to make the decisions on the
road?
roads?
We made it city council.
And do we get to voice our opinions again once the decision on the road comes up?
The same drawing, the same rendering?
We have to ask them about it.
You don't know.
Is that June the 4th?
This right here, this should have never been brought to you tonight. They should have just shown you the acreage, 111 acres.
Well, that was Johnson's mistake, but is that going to be the rendering, Sonny, do you think?
No. They can come up with another drawing before the next city council
So
meeting. If they
once
want to
the
come off of Burnt Mountain, they can.
Once city council approves
Yeah, it's go time.
this new annexation, do we get another voice and say, we disapprove of this road, we like this road, can you change this road? I mean, do we get to have our voices heard again before the city council, before a road decision is made?
Just the city council. And then once they approve it, I mean, it's approved.
Yeah, I think we got one shot.
And then the city is in charge of where the road goes.
All the city council is going to approve is 111 acres on Burnt Mountain has been taken into the city and zoned R1. That's all. They're not, how many lots they could get, 100, I can have 2. But it has nothing to do with that. All they're doing is approving the land to come into the city as R1.
And then the city council will not take into consideration the residents' voice on which way the road comes in or goes out. Our voice won't be heard again once that's approved.
You need to show up at city council meeting.
If I make a
Danny, you're getting this question. Once it's annexed, what happens? 'Cause that's what I'm saying. Once they approve annex and then they only have to submit the plans to you. It doesn't go before y'all again. It won't go before y'all again, the plan, only Sonny, the city. That's what I think they're trying to ask.
No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Who approves the plan? I think that's what they're trying to ask, and no one's answering that question.
It won't ever be Sonny's decision at all.
Not your decision, but who approves the plans? Once the real plan comes to you, who approves that plan?
Let me make one more comment.
That's all
And Sonny, you'll have to tell me, there again, if we were in LJ, you get it annexed, and it's just like down here, when we first talked to y'all, we said, well, we don't want to curb these roads. No, you got to curb them. Well, now we're planning on curbing. Somebody the city council or somebody, when this plan is set in stone and the soils work's done and the county has approved the septic, the lots for septic, and everything's done, somebody has to sign off on that final plan, correct?
That's correct.
And the way it's, where the entrance is at, how it's constructed, making sure the grades are not straight up and down.
Right.
So that would be, if it's zoned and annexed, where they can start doing their plans. And of course, my suggestion to them is going to be try to come off of Old Burke Mountain Road, because we don't want to go through this again.
Yes.
Old Burnt Mountain or Burnt Mountain?
The main road, whatever.
The main road.
Whatever that is.
Burnt Mountain.
To bring their main entrance to look at bringing it off of that and see if it engineering works. But, you know, tonight is not something that, you know, once they vote and say the city council votes to annex it to R1, that we can go out there and start building that road. That's the farthest thing from the truth. It's just, that's just the fact that they can start planning on doing R1. And my suggestion is going to be, let's try to figure out a way to get off of the main road down there to make it make sense. But, you know, that's, you know, all of that, once that final design is done, you know, the erosion control, how many silt ponds you got, all of that stuff will have to be designed and approved by the city before we can start
Actually, soil
construction.
erosion will be approved by Limestone Valley.
Yeah, but the design plans, you know, the county's going to have to approve the septic tanks, you know, make sure the soils work. You know, there's a whole lot of planning to do it, and then that plan, that actual construction plan will have to be approved when it's done.
Yes.
And
So
there's a
who
whole lot of
approves
work
that
from
plan?
this
So that's where I'm
sketch
confused. No one seems to answer
be
that.
complete.
Who approves the plan after y'all annex it? Who, once they submit it, who approves that plan? Is what I'm saying.
It
When
can
they,
come back to this board.
so it will come back to this board. Okay.
Or it could die in the mayor's office. The mayor could be the one to approve it, or the city manager.
So the board would approve it, this board here, after the city council?
We'd hear it, make a recommendation plan.
Yeah, they make a recommendation, I'm sorry.
I would assume the city council would have to vote on it.
But you would have all the engineering in place that had been done on the property. Limestone Valley will have to approve the soil and erosion plan because they'll be disturbing more than 1 acre. And so, I mean, it's a long process from here till the first house is even started. Because it usually takes 2 months to get the soil erosion plan back. And then it's no telling how long it'll take to put all the implements in that are in the soil erosion plan.
Mr. Lundy, Jim, could you come up, please?
Sure.
Jim, could you tell us the process after the council approves it, since you've been on the council?
What will happen is you'll get a recommendation. We've said this at least 30 times in the last hour. The Planning and Zoning Board will make a recommendation to council. Council's next meeting is June 4th. At that time, they will vote on annexation of this piece of property. If it is annexed into the city, plans will be presented to our building department and our Limestone Valley RDC to make decisions that you're trying to understand right now. That you can't understand the decisions right now, they haven't been made yet. That will be done later on in the process. What we're doing at this meeting and the meeting on June 4th is recommending and accepting or not accepting the recommendation of bringing this into the city as residential 1 property. Does that make it clear?
And
Does that help you?
The notice was put up
Because that's a rule, a law?
Oh, yes, yes,
That there is,
yes. We have to let adjacent property owners know that a decision's being made on this piece of property on recommending or not recommending zoning.
Does R1 mean only a certain amount of houses are allowed to be in there, or it's not apartments?
Single-family dwellings, it has, required lot size, required setbacks from front and side of the property, required size of the homes, lots of requirements.
Jim?
Yes,
Was Jim, is that correct?
Jim, yeah.
So, and now I was understanding correct, once it's on, then once this plan is put in place and actually designed, then the council will have to vote on approving the way it's constructed, because just like you've got roofs in place, it's got to be curved, you've got roofs in place, it's got to have, you know, you can't be such steep slopes.
I would be very careful calling that a council decision. That's really done by our building department in Limestone Valley, watershed, or whatever they're called today. Limestone Valley.
Limestone Valley is all I know.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be able to influence the building committee that would approve it, other than the council?
Anything that's approved by the building department, anything reviewed by the building department would be influenced by members of council.
But we wouldn't have input.
No, I have never known that to happen.
All right, so that's.
But you have input to council members.
But not as a group. This is our only chance as a group, and as city council to.
This whole group
and city
can come.
council.
This whole group can come to city council meeting.
Right.
Yes, sir.
My simple recommendation is this group needs to talk to development, Paul King, about the access after this meeting. Y'all need to share with him your concerns and how they could re-land plan this thing, even though they put the cart in front of the horse on how they've set this thing out. It sounds they're very reasonable, in my humble opinion, just from listening to Mr. King. I think if you guys go back to him and try to work together on bringing the entrance away from your street, there's probably your solution. So y'all need to get his phone number and his email number and see about reaching him that way. Otherwise, y'all show up in front of the council, talk to your commissioner, and voice your opinion there. That's where the rubber will meet the road.
I'll tell you what we'll actually do, we'll try to, with Paul's permission, we'll try to get, you know, this is not an elaborate plan, it's not set in stone for a bunch of reasons. For one, you know, they're working on the soils work, see if the septic works. We'll actually, with Paul's permission, try to get the engineer to look at an option of coming off Old Burke Mountain Road. The main road, whatever that road is. And see if we can get a road up that way that makes sense and works for everybody. And hopefully we can, you know, and there again, at that time, it'll just be a sketch because we don't have all the information, haven't compiled the information to see, you know, what lots will actually work, what won't for septic, et cetera. But
I understand what he's talking about. When he talks about soils, there are some soils that's not going to park. There's some soils not going to be accommodating to a road. So they've got a lot of work to do before this becomes, or the next drawing becomes the truth of what's happening. Does that help you?
Thank you, Jasper.
Robert, so what are you looking for?
There's been a lot of talk about coming off Burnt Mountain Road, but is that not State Highway 136? Will that not require approval from DOT and another federal state?
I'm sure.
no, it's actually a city road. If I understand correct. And they're not in the city.
It is.
That's a city road?
It is.
Does that extend just to the city limits?
Does. Then it's a county road. All the way to the Yukon Road.
To kind of echo what this gentleman just said, I'd be happy to give you my email address. I'll reply back so we make a connection there, and I can keep you posted on how we try to reconfigure to accommodate the needs it sounds like that exist with all the things that were commented on relative to this drawing, which again, that was all concept. So I think we hear you loud and clear, and you'll have an opportunity once we submit a final subdivision application to this group and then the city council to object. If you just don't want us to develop the property, that's one thing. We certainly want to do that, but we also want to have, the support of the community to build high quality residential. But we're not looking to come in and, create enemies or make too big a stir here. I understand the privacy issue and the concern about destroying a road and having construction equipment up and down the street. It's a valid concern. So let us work on it. Didn't expect all this, but I can understand why you commented what you did. And,
well, I think it's safety. I mean, those are valid points you're making, but at the end of the day, it's a safety issue. And if you're really forward thinking about real estate and land value, the minute people start being interested in that subdivision, they're going to think twice when they have to make that dangerous left-hand turn. You got to have your head on a swivel. You got to focus your eyes down that street, and you got to hit your blinker when you get to the Citgo. Or at least you got to hit the blinker when you're at least at the animal shelter.
And brakes.
And brakes. And I can't tell you how many times I've stopped on that road and a guy's coming behind me and he goes off into the side median, which is now someone's driveway, in a mailbox. That mailbox has already been down twice.
At least.
So the point is, we're not trying to stop progress. Go for it. Make all the money you can and put in the most expensive homes you can. Make our houses look better. But if you create a more dangerous situation for us, our families, our children, and for this community, and for the people that come up and down Cove Road, you're asking for lawsuits. This county, this city, is asking for numerous lawsuits. I heard a road report that there's 4,000 cars go up and down there. It's the second most busiest thoroughway in Pickens County. The second busiest at 4,000 cars. I don't even know if that's one way or each way. It doesn't matter. It's 4,000 cars. Okay? We'll have an accident there once a month minimum. We will. Because we only have, 20 cars go through there now? If we have 2 cars a family? I mean, it's insane. It is insane. I granted that I'm not even sure if that road's even legal, that turn. It's so terrible.
Wouldn't be that. That road as it exists now, I mean, I can't tell you, because I work at night, I'm home out here today. I can't tell you the times I've had to go out because some poor truck driver's taking the wrong turn. He's trying to go out, turn around Old Burnt Mountain Road, and he's turning out our street. My driveway is the only place on that street you can turn a large truck around. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to go out there, flag a truck driver down that's trying to back out through that badass curves right there at Miss Austin's. And say, you got to pull on down here because the only place you can turn this truck around is my street. Now you're going to have, the potential for having construction traffic on a daily basis.
I think that the main thing here is my takeaway from all of this. And I don't care about, I really don't care about anything else but the safety aspect of it. Because everybody else has their own opinion about the way it's going to look and all that stuff that we'll never find common ground. But I think we can find common ground on the safety. Can we not? I would think so. So that's my feeling behind it. Looks like we have some work ahead of us. That's fine.
Have y'all driven down Sharp Top Ridge Road?
Yes.
Yeah.
We did before we came.
You see.
Y'all remember when my wife's car was down off that cliff? I was in it.
I wondered about that.
That was a nightmare.
Were you just trying to come out of your driveway?
Yeah, we need a guardrail. That was about a 30-foot drop.
At least. I watched the whole extraction process. I was very impressed.
So my wallet.
I stood in the driveway and watched a wrecker reach over and pull the Ranger over out of 30 feet.
Yeah.
That was
All right, is there any more discussion on this, please?
Yeah.
If not,
I do have one question. After this is approved, we all know it's gonna be, they can do whatever they want with the property. Our concerns, they can just laugh at us and come down Sharp Top Ridge Road if they want to. That's correct, is that not?
no, you still have the chance at city council.
Well, yeah.
They're the ones that actually approves, gives the final approval.
Mhm.
All we're doing is saying yes or no to the recommendation, providing it, getting it into the city.
Well, since I'm a resident that's directly impacted, I would respectfully submit that you not approve.
I'll second that.
Ready? All right. I make a motion that parcel 029A064004 containing 111.8 acres be annexed into the city of Jasper and rezoned to R1.
Need a second? Any discussion? All right, we need a vote. Those in favor, say aye. It's approved. That's done.
See you.
Okay, meeting's adjourned, please.